Shalom. We are back with stream number 2. And wow, especially after yesterday, that was a very long, dragged out stream. But as promised, I am back doing, hopefully, I'm hoping I can do it a much shorter shift for you guys. I'm already calling it a shift. I'm already thinking that it's work. It's not work, guys. It's a hobby. It's something I like to do. But even so, what yesterday was, it dragged on and on and on. But that was talking about history. Today is officially the first day of what is a new era at Manchester United, right? A new era, the Ten Hag era, and man, is it going to be an interesting ride. I'm looking forward to every second of it. I've especially been most excited for Ten Hag. Ten Hag is definitely a manager that I've long wanted at this club, a lot longer than what most people would have perceived as what they would have wanted, or when they would have wanted Eric Ten Hag to come to the club. But we finally got him. He's finally at the club, and he cast his first press conference today. His first interview for Manchester United, which is not something that we're going to be covering today. We're going to be covering his first press conference. I've got the transcript, so we're going to be going through that real quick. I mean, this is at the end of the day, so at this point, I'm pretty sure that most people who do keep up to date with Manchester United, they probably would have known the contents of what the press conference was. I watched it today whilst I was at work on my lunch break, so a few key points in there that I actually really liked the sound of. Obviously, his English is Ten Hag's English is not absolutely perfect. I mean, nothing compared to what Ralf Rangnick's English is. I mean, God, that guy just sounds... Ralf Rangnick just sounds like he's a bloke that's literally German-born, but has just lived in the UK his whole life. But basically, we're just going to go through the transcript of what his press conference is. I'm going to give my reaction to it, my thoughts and feelings on it, and some of the implications behind what I believe in what he says, what that means for the club going forward. And I'm sure there's a few things after we conclude the press conference reaction, a few bits and bobs that I would like to just sort of go over a fair bit. So we're going to basically just glaze over this press conference super quick, hopefully not bore everyone to death, but basically from the top down. So basically, Ten Hag's opening message. Today I'm happy to meet all, but I'm really excited to be here. It was really a warm welcome here in the club. I'm looking forward to working at this club. I'm looking forward to cooperating with you all. It gives me energy. I'm looking forward to the new season, and today I feel quite well. You're not going to feel well when you really get knee deep into the shit. I feel welcome. That's an important bit. This is my home and I want to achieve success. Okay, so already warm welcome to the media, which I'm sure he will be drilling his head through a wall come the midpoint through the season if things aren't going too well. But of course, he's got to start with the niceties, try and get the media on his side, of course, for his first press conference. And I think that's something that I think he probably would have had mentioned to him by several people before, because he wouldn't have been the first Dutch manager dealing with the English press at Manchester United. So going on to the next point here. You've been preparing, so this is basically the first question, now we get into the questions. You've been preparing for this job for a week or so now in England. You were at the Crystal Palace match yesterday, which apparently was just pretty much the whole time he was just shaking his head. What are your first thoughts on what you are taking on, and what areas have you pinpointed that need improvement? So probably what he said to John Murtaugh, which I think is who he was sat next to yesterday, he's probably just gone to and is just like, yeah, get me a new squad, please. Just a new goalkeeper to strike. Just get me everyone brand new, please. Deliver it to me on a silver platter. So, this was his answer to the question. I've made an analysis, and I think that we are in the lead of the process now, which says that he's in control of what's going on, that things are already starting to fall into place, supposedly, but obviously we don't know what's going to be going on over the next couple months. With this start, before the season starts, we now have a couple of weeks break, which is important, I think, especially for Ten Hag himself. He should probably go away and get a little bit of a holiday at least before taking on such a massive job. Even if you do have the energy to jump straight headfirst into a new season at a new club that's aren't scared of you, if you've got a task this size, I can't imagine someone would be in the right state of mind just jumping into this, and I can definitely see if someone doing that, they'll be regretting it come November, December time, 100%. So get your break in now, Eric, before it is too late, before the squad gets the shuffles out. But I keep it now for myself. It's the Crystal Palace game in the previous season now, and we look forward to going to the next season. So he's already notioned to the game yesterday. That's old news. What matters now is what we are going to do today, tomorrow, day after, this week, next week, week after. Are you confident of a turnaround? I'm getting raided. Are you confident of a turnaround? The confidence is that I have a good feeling with the people around. I have a good feeling from the meetings. We have a plan, and now it's about getting the plan done, to get it into process, to cooperate, to be consistent in our plan. And when we have good people around with the right connection and the right commitment, we will achieve the success we want to. So yeah, routine dialogue, I think. What's your plan? Our plan is huge. Huge, a bit of an understatement, let's just be honest. And we have a short time. We do have a very short time to be able to explain it now. Obviously, yeah, this plan, you're not going to be able to cover all of it in just one press conference. Not just that, but obviously turning words into actions. It's going to take you several years, several summers, several January transfer windows to really sort of find, the ideal image, the perfect image of what a Ten Hag Manchester United is going to look like. Of course, we will first roll it out to the staff, and then we will roll it out to the players, and you will see. So obviously this is something that's going to be debated in-house before we start sort of seeing it all getting laid out publicly. Ralph Rangnick said that he was going to speak with you this week. Do you agree with him that up to 10 reinforcements are needed? I just said I'm still in the process of analysing to set conclusions. I'm looking forward to working with these players. The season before, the squad was second in the league. That was reference to Ollie's last completed season. So there is huge potential. I think if we improve, if we can work with them, I think we can get out more than what is now the result from this season. Right. Let me just drag this over here. So a couple points there. I don't really think that he's obviously he's going to look at the results of Ollie's last full season in charge and see that the result there was finishing second in the league, which I think on paper you're going to say that that's it's a good season, right? That you are second place in the league. You're finishing ahead of Liverpool. That's gotten so much credit this season. Let's just be honest. I think it's a little bit smoke and mirrors with that. I don't. That second place didn't tell the full story of the situation. So obviously, from November onwards, I think is what Ten Hag knows about with this squad in terms of the situation, the player situation, the club situation, all of that. I think he will only know really what's happened from November onwards. So obviously last season, this is all. A lot of these problems have been brewing for years now. So maybe it's still yet to sink in the extent of just how much damage has been done this season. So yeah, what have you assessed as the first steps you need to take? What we are doing is what we are now doing is first constructing the staff, constructing the squad, and constructing a good plan. Again, starting from top, going down, right? If it's broke from the top, there's no point trying to fix the bottom because it's all just going to fall apart. What we're doing, yeah. So first, it's pre-season plan that we are now working on. So obviously, the obvious answer. There's a lot of restructuring and there's so much change. Are you excited by the challenge of having a blank canvas? So that is on the club. They have set conditions and I have to work with my squad to achieve success. That is what I'm looking forward to, and we have a strategy, so we have a concept and we will work on that. And I think that's something that we've not really had for several years now, is an obvious structure. And I think for the past several seasons, it's quite clear as day that without the transfer strategy, the squad has gradually just gotten worse and worse over time. Not so much as individual player quality, but more that we're straying further and further from a coherent, fully functional team. So the fact we've got a structure and a plan and a strategy should mean that we start to find more pieces to add to the puzzle that actually make sense. That signings that make sense, signings that people can see the positive side of having a player, even if the bigger name was the one that got overlooked. So that is something obviously we'll have to pay a lot of attention to. There is a lot to be done in terms of performance, but have you thought about changing the atmosphere? I think the atmosphere, both amongst the fans, the atmosphere is quite sour. It's sour dressing room, sour back of house, sour everything at the moment. In every club we think about what is in the club, what is in the spirit of the club, and that is what we want to know, but also, and that is why they appoint me as the manager. I have to bring something to the club, a dynamic. If you want to achieve the top, you have to demand, and that is what we are willing to do. Okay. And I think it's important that we do address the spirit of the club. We do address everything about the atmosphere within the dressing room, because no club, for as good as the players are, can operate, play well, win games, win trophies. No club in the world can do that if you've got a split dressing room. So obviously that being a major key focus for Eric. So that's something he's already identified, something that would have been said to him by Ralph. So yeah, moving on. It's been 9 years since United last won the Premier League title. Realistically, how long will it take to be challenging again? I don't think about that in this moment, which is important. It's a process. Trust the process. Oh my God, we're going to start be saying that now. What we are thinking about is that this is a project. Thankfully, it's not a project use, so we don't have to worry too much about signing some bloke called Trusty the Process, right? Which I know always takes time. But I know that in this club, and I have experience with other clubs like Ajax and Bayern Munich, we want to win. We want to win every game, so we go from game to game, and then we will see. So yeah, it's, again, I think it's the same sort of mentality. I think that, City players will tell you about, that Liverpool players will tell you about. This whole, you don't think about what happens at the end of the season. You think about what your next game is, and getting yourself fit for that, being ready physically, mentally for that game. Don't worry about the game afterwards. You worry about that game, unless your manager turns around to you and says, "Oh yeah, you're not playing next game." There's no reason for you as a player, as a professional, to think about what's happening the game after. You think about your next game and focus, to channel your focus, tunnel vision in on that game. Did you think about coming here when you were offered the job? Is it a risk that you could be putting your reputation on the line? And this is, again, the risk factor. Ex-professionals had said this, obviously media have said this, fans had said this. There's all sorts of parties that have said about the Ten Hag risk, right? So Eric's answer: I don't see it as a risk. I think this club has great history, and let's make a future. So he's not even talking about, let's bring success back. He's just talking about, let's make a future, right? Let's make a future. Let's just focus on what we are doing in the now to ensure that the future is brighter, right? And that's, given the circumstances, that's probably the right way to go about it. So obviously, yeah, Ten Hag could be putting his reputation on the line, but I think the fact is that he's approaching the risk to putting his reputation on the line, potentially getting sacked from his job 1 year, 2 years, maybe even 3 years down the line. We don't know if or when that would happen. But he's confident, he's not second guessing, he's happy. Yeah, he is genuinely happy to be taking on this challenge, which I'm really glad from a supporter's perspective to see or to hear that from my manager. So, big ups to Eric. It is really exciting to do that with the people around who are in the club. We also bring people in with the staff. We will analyse the squad and we will go on day to day, as I've previously mentioned. Work hard, 100% committed. Again, work rate, the addressal to work rate, making sure that the now is good, and focus on your future later. You can talk about your future later, and then I'm sure we'll get success. So there we go. How much are you looking forward to the Premier League? Boring question. Really boring question, but here's his answer anyway. It's fantastic. I already met big coaches, big teams around the Premier League, so he's taken quite a bland question. He's actually put a bit of a fun spin on it. A sort of, I've faced the Premier League's best with Ajax, and I'm ready to put up the fight. I'm ready to put the hurting on them, right? For big teams in the Premier League and European competition, so I know how to deal with that. So, obviously, previous experience. I think most notably, it was Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool that he faced with Ajax previously. Did he play? He played. Was it us that Erik ten Hag played against? I think that must have been his first season in the Europa League final against Jose Mourinho. But Mourinho's not here anymore in this league. I don't think he's played, at least not to my knowledge, he's not played Pep Guardiola in Manchester City yet. He's played Tottenham Hotspur, but not Mauricio Pochettino, so he's played against these teams, right? But I think Klopp is probably the only one that he's actually played against in the opposite dugout. But yeah. But it is clear that the Premier League is the biggest league in the world, obviously recited. I think, well, yeah, I love it, he just adds, I think at the end. It's the biggest league in the world, I think. I'm not sure, let me fact check real quick. Let me get Wikipedia up, let's see what Wikipedia says. I'm really looking forward to battling with them, so the challenge is there, and he'll step up to it. He's not going to shy away. He's not going to sit back and put 10 men behind the ball. He's going to go at teams. He's playing Ten Hag football against big teams. That is the intent. He says it here now. So if you start seeing 10 men behind the ball against teams like a City or like a Liverpool, you will know that something is not, like some dots back a house in the training ground, they're not connecting. So he's laid down the law there about obviously the challenge of putting up fights against these other teams and these other managers, of course. Cheers to you, chocolate milk. Have you spoken to people about what it's like to be at this club? Of course I've spoken with people to get an idea. Wink, wink. Ralf Rangnick. Before Erik Ten Hag was officially manager. Yeah, we all know about that. Is it going to be a case of evolution or revolution at the club? I like to think both. I would like to think both revolution and evolution. Get both in. Do both. Evolve the bits you're keeping, and the revolution, talking about the changes from the top down. Sell the deadwood, sell the players that are the disease in the dressing room, and bring in new fresh bloods and players that really do want to play for the badge on the shirt. That's step number one for him as a manager when it comes to obviously the signings at the club. So his answer here, I think we have to work and we have to set clear purposes, clear strategy, and then you need people who have capabilities and have the right attitude, a positive attitude, 100% committed, and work hard, and then we shall achieve success. So again, they're referencing, look, the right players have got to come in, the right signings, and the right people to run the club from the top down, the right coaches, the right everything. Figure that out first, and start talking about building the foundations towards getting to, your years of success. Whether that lies in winning the Premier League, or whether that lies in winning, FA Cup or Europa League, because obviously we're in Europa League. Once again, thank you, Lee Gunner and Brighton. So we go to the next question. How will your team play? Maybe you have seen Ajax. So obviously this is something that we knew from the get-go with Erik Ten Hag. He's going to bring the Ajax system to Man United, and I like that, is what he says, and it's what I say as well. But it's always players who dictate the way of play. I have the ideal, I will line up my best team, I will line up my players like that to get the best out of them. So this is kind of the thing. So Erik is basically saying right now what I think Ralf didn't say when he talked about his system, like when Ralf talked about his system when he first came in with his style of football. Erik is saying, the players I have now, you will see as close to the Ajax system as possible. This depends on the identity of the player he's got at the club. Right, so if you want pure total football Ajax, prime Ajax football, that means Ten Hag has got a very good squad. He's got a very good squad, and he's getting the very best out of his players. He's got. If we see less of Ten Hag's football, it's because he hasn't got the players he wants, or the players he needs to get the best results out of them. So he's saying right now, he's getting it out there. So this press conference, based off of what happens pre-season, next season, going forwards, reference back to this. If you see certain patterns of certain things happening in this with the club next season, right, with the squad, with the players, reference back to this. Ten Hag would have given you the answers and the truth at this point, at this moment in time. So if you see something happening, you reference back to this press conference, you will know why. You will know why. So that they can go out, they can go to the maximum. The way they've written this, right, makes it sound really, really awkward. But I suppose he's literally just typed word by word what Ten Hag has said. That they feel comfortable in the role, and in the end it's about success, to getting the success together. Our interim manager for the past 6 months has been very vocal about changes that need to be made. Do you plan to sit down with Ralph? I think it's a part of my analysis. I analyse by myself, I observe, I will speak with a lot of people, but finally I will draw my own line. There's a part 2 to this question. There are plans for Ralph's consultancy. Do you advocate his role? That is on the club. So straight away, Eric is just getting out there. Look, other issues in the club, talk to them. Don't talk to me. Straight away, just so he's not crossing any borders or trying to do anyone else's job, like Darren Fletcher. So yeah, I like the idea that he is someone who observes a lot. His problems, Ten Hag's problems, he's paying close attention to, right? He doesn't need anyone to tell him that he's doing something wrong, at least not yet. Maybe someone will. But yeah, it's a good element to having a manager that is very, maybe could call it visionary. I'd probably say Ten Hag's more or less like a visionary, right? But yeah, the first part 1 to the question was actually quite right. Ralph has been very vocal about changes that need to be made. Whether he's exaggerated or not, that it doesn't matter. He's laid out, all this is a problem at the club, this needs changing, Did you speak to Louis van Gaal or Daley Blind about the club? I spoke with more people who have experience with this club, experts, but finally I will draw my own line. So he's going to put his stamp on the team, right? He's going to make his own approach to the team. He's going to do everything with Ten Hag's regime at his level, at his specialties. He will have control of. He will have full control of. He is in charge of it. No one else is doing his job for him, right? Did you speak with Louis van Gaal? Again, another question about Van Gaal. Yeah, history is history, right? Obviously, people want to ask some trivia questions, right? These aren't important questions, but obviously this is literally the trivia questions that people are just like, yeah, oh, did you speak with him? Did you speak with her? What was your dinner like last night? Or some pointless question that has absolutely nothing to do with what is happening here and now, right? Yes, I spoke with Louis. I was at his movie. I was at the premiere of his movie. So yeah, okay. There is a belief that no one will win a title while we are in this Klopp and Guardiola cycle of dominance. Do you agree with this? So obviously, again, reference to the challenge that we face, that Erik Ten Hag faces, and obviously this for any manager is a tough. It's a tough affair. I mean, Antonio Conte. There's so many great managers, good managers in this league that are at clubs that even then they just don't stand a chance. Across 38 games, they just don't stand a chance against the squads of Liverpool and Man City, and then you've got, easily, in my opinion, two of the top 10, 20 best managers in history, both managing in the same league at the two best teams. So it's like, if Ten Hag comes in and starts winning titles sort of 3-4 years down the line, somehow, obviously I'm not suggesting that's what's going to happen, by no means, but let's just say for argument's sake, if they started winning titles 3-4 years down the line, that straight away, that I think that's putting a level of respect on Ten Hag that says, you are definitely up there as one of the best managers in the world, easily. And especially if he's beating them across 38 games, you could easily say, well, actually, maybe he will eventually be classified as a better manager than Klopp or Guardiola. But that's then. This is now, right? That's speculation. So this is the answer to that question. In this moment, I admire them. I admire them both. They play in this moment really fantastic football, both Liverpool and Manchester City, but you will always see that an era can come to an end. I'm looking forward to battling with them, and I'm sure all other clubs in the Premier League will want to do that. So obviously everyone wants to challenge City. They want to push Liverpool. They want to, get in the mix. Of course they do. They'll want to dive in. They want to get involved. Get stuck in against this dominant City team, this dominant Liverpool team. With the reference to with the part of the answer where he says that the era can come to an end, eras can come to an end. Pep's era would probably end in relation to him leaving the club, maybe another club that he probably has more in his heart than City. Maybe they will come to him and they'll propose an idea to him. Maybe if this continued Champions League failure continues going on and on and on, I can imagine, I wouldn't say Pep would get sacked, but I'd say the club maybe just like, we want to try something a little different to get that Champions League success. The club structure is not so much changing. It wouldn't so much change around Pep leaving, right? So in terms of the players they recruit, the level of squad that they would have wouldn't really so much change. But obviously how the team gets coached and obviously this strategical approach per game would change. Maybe they sacrifice the Premier League, where performances drop. Maybe performances drop in the league when you get another manager in, but they go on to win the Champions League. Maybe that happens. We don't know what is going to be happening with Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, 3, 4, 5 years down the line. Klopp's era could come to an end. I mean, there's not really a Klopp era. It's more a Pep and Klopp era as it stands. But I'll probably say Klopp's era can come to an end at any point. It can just suddenly just vanish, just stop. Klopp at Dortmund had everything going his way. If things were going his way, he was putting pressure on Bayern. Probably the most pressure that Bayern have had in recent memory was from Klopp's Dortmund. So, that was credit to him back during those years. But then all of a sudden, next season comes in and they just fall off the face of a cliff. Klopp wasn't sacked by any means, but at least I don't think he was sacked. No, he wasn't sacked, but they agreed to say, look, at the end of his season, let's part ways. And Klopp believed, it's gone to something new, it's gone to trying something different. And so both eras can come to an end. I think one era will have one manager's era or tenure at their respective club will end differently to the other. I don't think Pep will get sacked from bad results. Klopp could get sacked from bad results, but I wouldn't imagine that they would. I mean, Klopp's just signed a new deal, so he's going to be here for a while. I reckon it just does depend that the board back him properly, and that the players don't get tired of him. That's literally all that's riding on that at this moment in time. Next question, basically just a follow-up to the last question. Can an era come to an end before they decide to leave? And Ten Hag's answer, yeah, obviously. I think yes. So next question. You spoke about our history earlier. Do you do a lot of research into the club, and is there a reason why you came? No, the reason is, although it is a fantastic history, the reason is there is a high potential for the future. That's why I'm here. So he's not here because, it's Manchester United, I want the job, because, it's a big club and big payments. He came to the club because he saw a vision. Again, like I said, Ten Hag, he's a visionary. He sees a plan, he puts his ideas forth, and he brings each little piece together, element by element. He's going to build Manchester United. He's going to take them on a similar journey to what Klopp was taking Liverpool on when he took them over. Because they were definitely sort of well out of the title picture at that point. And he sort of just took it piece by piece, step by step, season by season. And lo and behold, here we are, one of the most dominant teams in the Premier League in modern era. And obviously, in terms of trophies, if they continue to win trophies at the rate that they are doing for the next sort of 3, 4, 5 years, you'd have to say that this Liverpool team would probably be one of the best in history, best of all time. But that's then, this is now. But yeah, it's again just reference to Ten Hag being a visionary, which is important for us to have going forward, especially with this new era. Will you speak with the players this week? No, I speak with the players now. They need a break. They need a break. I don't speak with the players now. They need a break. They need a break to reflect, but I'm looking forward to starting. But I want to wait until the end of June for some players, and the majority in the first week of July. So obviously some players, the ones that he knows he has to work with the most, or work the most on, that he believes need the most focus, the most sort of the players that need to be pushing themselves the most, probably based off of what Ralph has said to him already about the players in the squad, and then obviously everyone else by default coming back, the rest of the team, the rest of the staff coming back to start work again for the new season in the first week of July. So yeah, that would just be as routine. What support do you need from the club? We had good meetings, a good talks, and I think we are on the same page. That is a good platform to start. I'm sure I have confidence in the project, that we have the good people around, the right strategy, and from that point about a good platform, then now we have to start work. So meetings with the club, this is probably something that I'll go over once I've concluded this, which hopefully shouldn't be too much longer. Not many more questions to go through, which I'll try and speed this up a little bit so we can get to the a little bit afterwards. But and a sort of a little bit of an addressal to perhaps some people's concerns about trusting the immediate board in backing Ten Hag or getting things right, getting things into place, and making sure that the system, the strategy, and the structure does its job. So yeah, good meetings, good talks. Obviously, he spoke with Murta Fletcher. I don't think he would have spoken directly to Richard Arnold, at least not yet. I mean, he might have spoken to him today briefly, but I think from the start to where we are now, from the very beginning of Ten Hag's appointment, he's really only had dialogue with people like John Murtaugh and Darren Fletcher and Ralph Rangnick, whom the person he is taking a position from. But yeah, as concerns with John Murtaugh, or meetings with John Murtaugh, we'll go over in a bit. Are there similarities between this job and the task you had when you first joined Ajax? Yes, there are similarities in both clubs. They both wear red. Well, actually, one looked like they were wearing an Arsenal kit, and the other is just a plain red top. I think both clubs are used to having success, and I think that's the biggest similarity. Probably not so sure about the second part to that comment. I mean, we're used to being disappointed at this point. I think if you asked us that question, or asked Ten Hag if he was the manager 5 years ago, would probably tell you, yeah, we're still quite used to the idea of being successful, to winning trophies, but we're so far gone from that. I think we're just so far removed from the idea of winning trophies or being successful, having trophies going in to our trophy cabinet and not just gathering dust and being reserved to just talk of history. We want to talk about what's next, what's new, what's fresh, what's coming up. That's what we want to talk about. That's what we want. That's where we want to go. That's the trophies we want to win. We want to win the polished stuff. We want to get the Man City cleaner boys to start polishing up the trophy for us to have our hands on several years down the line. That's what we want to be doing. So, going to the next question. Could you give an example of what Steve McLaren and Mitchell van der Gaag will bring as assistants? They both know how to get success because they have both won titles, trophies in their careers. That's why they are here. Obviously, Steve McLaren, not someone who's won titles as a manager, but has been a part of the coaching staff that has been successful. So henceforth, he is fulfilling his duties in the same sort of role as part of a coaching staff that hopefully this time will also be successful. So don't worry, we're not going to get no Steve McLaren Newcastle-esque shithousery happening on Old Trafford turf at any point next season. Hopefully. At least I don't think so. Mitchell van der Gaag, I haven't really done much research into him, but he's been his assistant. At least I think he's been his assistant. I don't know. Is recruitment going to be the key? Yes, it's right. Recruitment is an important part. That's, to me, a wasted question. Does Ronaldo fit into the project? Of course. Again, I wouldn't say he fits into a multi-year project, but I think as for being, again, someone that you can rely on to scoring goals next season if things really aren't going too well for you, we still have the option, right? We still have that option. We can't rely on Ronaldo for longer than this extra year, though. If we're doing that for several years, then we've still got massive, massive problems. What do you feel he can bring next season? Goals. If I was asked that question, I would have stuttered over that answer for years. Are you looking for more leadership from him as well to lead the project? I will talk with I'll talk with Ronaldo before I talk with you. So again, it's not just like, oh, I'm going to go talk to Ronaldo because he's a cool guy, and I love Ronaldo. I have a shirt pinned up. I have one of his shirts pinned up in my bedroom. None of that. He's just referring to the fact that before, again, like earlier on in the interview, in the press conference, where he said, look, the talks will happen privately and back of house before anything gets made public. The leaks have to stop, right? And Ten Hag strictly intends for there not to be leaked information about every bit by bit what's happening in the summer, right? Literally, he says it right there. Like, he says it earlier on in the press conference, right? So that's what he's referring to in terms of speaking with Ronaldo before speaking with you. The private chats will happen first, and then you can get the low hanging fruits as your answers in future press conferences. What are your first impressions of Manchester? Geographical questions now. Here we go. I have been in Manchester before. This is the first time I've been to Old Trafford, and I'm impressed, of course, because you actually go around the stadium tour and you'll actually be impressed. It's a bit like, what was it? Like it was Champions League night several years ago, 2014, 15 or something, when Bayern Munich played Manchester City, or whatever year it was, where Bayern Munich would play Manchester City, right? Or Barcelona, I can't remember, it was Bayern or Barca, it was a team beginning with B. But the fans that came over, right, they'll play Manchester City, but they all went over to go see the Manchester United Stadium tour, and it was just like, we're so shit right now, we're not winning trophies, but man, it's just, it pays, it quite literally pays the club to have a history whilst the neighbours don't. So yeah, Ten Hag took the stadium tour. I think he got a discount on it though, let's just be fair. It feels like my home already, and I can't wait for until the first match and the stand is full. It'll be an exciting experience, and that's the thing. That is the thing, because this is such a massive change. It's new life. It's fresh belief, right? So first game of the season at Old Trafford will be absolutely jam-packed full, right? It'll be jam-packed full. There'll be capacity, I think. There should be a capacity. It'll be an exciting experience, yeah. Are you looking forward to the crowds and the atmosphere? I've seen a lot in the past with big teams of Man United. There are a lot of generations that are really successful, and there is a fantastic ambience always at Old Trafford, and I am really looking forward to getting that experience. Hopefully it's not an experience where you're 4-0 down at any point, because then it's a snooze fest. It's a library, the library of dreams, because everyone's asleep or crying or having nightmares, or they're already on the M1. They're already on the M1, they're travelling back down to London. And it was and here we go. And it is, I like to call this the Alexis Sanchez question, right? Because there's so many players, right, that will get asked this question, or they will say this answer, right? And it was your favourite club as a boy, was it? It was, seriously, for England. In every country I have a favourite club. In England, Man United. So maybe he's saying, oh, Manchester United were not my beloved boyhood club. They were my favourite club from England, but my beloved club is probably Bayern Munich or something. Like, to be honest, I probably would think that his favourite club as a kid was Bayern Munich, but I think he's worded it slightly different, because I think usually players are serially known, especially Alexis Sanchez, in saying, oh, well, this club that I've just joined, I've loved this club since I was a kid. And it's literally, he said the same thing for Arsenal, he said the same thing, he said the same thing. But yeah, he said for Arsenal, for Manchester United, and I think he also said the same thing for Inter Milan, right? He said it for 3 separate clubs, the same comment. I think it's like, oh, I'm pulling on your heartstrings, fan base. After the track record you've got, I don't think so. Steve McLaren, so going into the next question, this is Steve McLaren said that you're good at analysing matches. What conclusions have you drawn from Palace? I observed it, I analysed it, but it was for me. I wasn't. But it was for me. I wasn't the judge. I take this information into the new season. So he's going to line everyone up against the wall and he's going to go, you're shit, you're shit, you're shit. Probably not so much that, but I think it's the fact that he's seen a full match, a full 90 minutes from a squad that contains players that won't be leaving the squad in the summer. I think he has a much better idea of what Ralph has probably said. So for Ten Hag, he's seen it firsthand. So he's been able to pay close attention to each player's individual body language, obviously, you know, their sort of work rates, their attitude, and how well they link from player to player. So it's like Edison Cavani, for example. Say for example, he's got a contract that lasts for another several years. Ten Hag would have it in the back of his mind that he'll probably be here going to next season because I can't sell everyone. Does he link well with his right winger? Yes. Does he link well with his left winger? Not so much. So paying attention to the little links between players in that respect, right? One ongoing discussion is who should be United's captain. Do you feel Harry Maguire should remain captain? I have to repeat, next season is a different season. I think he did a great job. He did a great job in losing respect of his peers, that's for sure. He is a great player. I'm not sure about that. He achieved already a lot. No, he hasn't. He has not achieved anything at all in the slightest. A really good contribution to Manchester United. The downfall of it, yes. So I'm looking forward to working with him. As such, writing out his P45 and get the hell out of my club. That's the working relationship between Ten Hag and Harry Maguire, is writing the P45. I'll give you an excellent reference. I'll say you're a definite threat in front of goal, but I'm not going to tell you which goal it is. Shh, we don't tell them that. We don't tell the next club if they sign him, we're not telling him which goal that Harry Maguire is a threat in front of. How do you react to Van Gaal's comments about Manchester United being a commercial club? It was damning at the time that it came out, but it was true what Louis said about the Glazers, the way that they've, not just Glazers, but Ed Woodward, most specifically Ed Woodward as well, because he was a stooge, absolutely a stooge, and the people that he appointed to run the club under him were also just as big a stooges as he was. Richard Arnold was included in that. I think still kind of is, but we'll clarify that in a bit. So, go on to the answer here. I draw my own. Saying the last question. This was. I draw my own line. I'm convinced that this is not the case. I spoke to the directors about it, and football is 1, 2, 3 these days. Every club these days is commercial. Every club needs it to be successful. You need to do what is necessary, but football is 1, 2, 3 in this club. So he's spoken to the directors. Say he did this interview last year, he would have spoken to Ed Woodward. He would have told Eric something different. He's spoken to the directors. That's Murtough and Fletcher. Their beliefs are not the same as Ed Woodward's. Absolutely not. Probably would have spoken to Matt Judge as well. He would have said something different to Murtough and Fletcher. So the fact that the discussions between the people at board level and the new manager is focused around football, is football centric, is supposedly saying, look, I wouldn't say that anyone's put words in Eric's mouth for this press conference, but the fact that the conversations have happened with two people that are football orientated, whether they're good or not at being football orientated, we're yet to see. We'll have to see in future. But yeah, again, just mentioning about the club and the structure, the strategy is football first. For us, football is first for us, but there are people at the club that will also deliver on the importance of success. So winning team photos, shout out to Mark Goldbridge with the whole winning teams thing, the winning team picture, yeah, winning team, shout out to Mark Goldbridge on that one. But that will probably still continue, right? Because the club have got their targets for off-pitch success, like the media, the traction, the selling of merchandising, like all of this stuff. That's not going to change, right? So get used to winning team photos in next season. Get used to it. That's not going anytime soon. But the actual actions, that speak louder than the words, the actions that are occurring are about football. That is the important thing. That's what has to change. That's what's got to be priority number one. And this comment here suggests that. Whether we see that, again, it's like actions speak louder than words. Talk is cheap, and the actions will define one's legacy. And it's up to John Murtough and Darren Fletcher to deliver on creating that legacy. Last question of the press conference. It's quite abrupt, but yeah. Are you looking forward to working with Donny van der Beek again? Of course, we had a fantastic squad in our time at Ajax. I have a really good relationship with him, and I'm looking forward to meeting him on the pitch. So that concludes the press conference. Obviously, the reference there to Donny van der Beek at the end. I think this is the speculation that everyone's had. Absolutely, everyone has had the speculation going into next season. Obviously, how's Van der Beek going to fit into Ten Hag's system come next season? What's going to happen? Is he going to be a bench player? Is he going to be benching another player? I think there's a whole Bruno Fernandes, Van der Beek debate as to who's filling in that particular role in the team. I think let's just see how both respective player responds to what Ten Hag's ideals are, right? As what Eric says here, right? Let's focus on seeing what the ideals are laid out to the players and how the players respond to that. So the bit afterwards that I said that I was going to do is like a quick address, and I'll wrap this up off the tail end of this, right? There's a lot of people, right, in terms of the whole backing Ten Hag thing, right, that are not sure about this board. They don't really trust the board to support Erik Ten Hag, right? And I can totally understand that. I think there's a few trust issues there myself. One thing we've got to remember right now is that the one person, or the two people that Erik Ten Hag is now sort of serving directly to is John Murtough and Darren Fletcher, right? That is it. There's none of this, if Eric wants something, he's got to go speak with the CEO, because Richard Arnold's probably got his phone switched off, because he's not interested in that. He's not interested in that talk. He's interested about keeping the Glazers happy and making the money and making sure that the club is self-sustainable. Of course, you'll probably see him turn up to games just to keep an eye on things. So if people come to him with certain questions or topics of discussion, if things aren't going so well, or if there's certain areas in the team that need addressing, obviously him being at games, he's slightly more in the loop, is Richard Arnold. But let's remember something real quick. I know there's some people are concerned about, John Murtough. He's been at the club for years. His role has just been repackaged several times over. Darren Fletcher coming in with an experience. And I got to be honest, I I think this is probably the first of actual change that you can be more convinced with happening. Now this might come back to bite me horribly. This might come back to bite me terribly. But this, you have to be convinced of change this time around. I think, at least I believe you have to be. Because at the time of Murtough and his previous dealings, right, up until the end of January, John Murtough, obviously, he was in the points of question about, obviously, January transfer window. That was just terrible. We didn't buy anyone. We let several people go. That January transfer window came out, and it was just like, oh, Ralph got overruled by the club, and John Murtough was part of that club, the same board that rejected Ralph's and some of the squad players' requests. Don't forget, at the time, Ed Woodward was a control freak. Every final say about the club's processes, football and commercial, it had to be signed off or vetoed by Ed Woodward. It had to be. It had to be. It absolutely had to be. It was all about Ed Woodward at that point, and obviously his most trusted compatriots, said Matt Judge and a couple of other people, Richard Arnold, I think, at that point. After January, Richard Arnold becomes new CEO. He's like, straight away, okay, football people, I'm delegating. First thing Richard did was delegate. He delegated the roles. He gave responsibility and power, official power and responsibility, to his sporting and technical directors. He said, you guys are specialised for this role now. Your decisions, you get the final say on the actual sporting matters. If you talk about commercial stuff or other like major things, like in terms of like stadium talk, renovations like that, you'll have to come to me with that, right? But sporting matters, over signing players, selling players, all of that, your sporting and your technical directors, speak with them. They'll be the people to do that business for you. And yeah, and I think now that John has actually got that power, he's got the responsibility, and he doesn't have to get everything, absolutely everything signed off by the CEO. He's actually now got the rights to do everything himself, and the fact that he understands what this club genuinely needs, at least along the lines of knowing what it needs, he's trusted his instincts with going with what, he's eyes up. John Murtough is eyes up. He's not going into this with some big blindfold on. He's actually taken things a little bit steady for big decisions, such as, obviously you're going to shake the cobwebs out with the whole interview process. That sounded ludicrous at the time, but it's default in terms of the managerial recruitment. But Ralph Rangnick was a plead to Ed Woodward by John Murtough, apparently, supposedly, and maybe that again was Murtough relying on being far-sighted rather than short-sighted, and we've all bared the pain to get the long-term gain out of that, and he's definitely looked at Ralph with his recommendations. Is his supposed recommendation, look, Ten Hag, one is obviously admitted to being happy to leaving his club if the right offer comes in for him, and obviously put forward the idea. Murtough agrees, and so they go out to getting him. Obviously they're doing the other interviews because there are other voices, other people in Murtough's ear. They want Pochettino, he wants Ten Hag, that person over there, Jimmy, who's sort of sits at the back of press conferences, he wants Luis Enrique, and that guy over there wants the return of Sir Alex Ferguson's magic. Like, get out with that. But again, it's technical people, football-minded people that are actually getting the responsibility now, and it's their decision. It's not crazy Woodward, who literally just cannot be. He was a lazy sod. He was a lazy sod when it came to footballing decisions, because it was all about spending money when it comes to signing players, and obviously this arrogance about needing to be the guy that is, the person who takes his club forward, who gives it success, and obviously keeping the Glazers happy, being their teacher's pet. And I think now it's just a case really that we put more faith and trust in John Murtough over the summer. That I think obviously the club structure, there's still a few bits that I would want to see added in before we say full steam ahead going into the new season. Hopefully we can see some of those changes get made soon. Obviously Ten Hag has got his coaching staff, his 2 assistant managers that he wants, so that's important, and I'm sure a couple of coaches will come in across the course of the summer / next season, as well as some other coaching departures. What else? Yes, so players that want to leave as well, expect them to leave the club in good time as well. Good time. I wouldn't expect deals to be just dragged out all summer long. I'd expect this board to start taking the incentive that, deals you can get done quick, get them done. Get them done right here, right now. Negotiate your deals, put the money on the table, take the money, take the player, get out of Dodge. Don't drag deals out. Don't try and play 4D chess with other clubs or try to mastermind transfer windows. Do what is absolutely most necessary and get it done quick. Get it done fast, get it done now. The sooner we get things changed, the sooner we can delve into the new season and the brand new start. So that concludes this stream pretty much. I did promise that the stream would be a lot shorter, and it is approximately like 9 or 8 minutes shorter, so that again I apologise about. I'd probably assume that some of the press conferences coming up would definitely be shorter, so obviously hopefully we can cover things like that sooner, in shorter time, and cover other necessary topics that we need to cover. But yeah, that's pretty much the contents of that initial press conference. Obviously exciting times, things to look forward to, and obviously going forward, very much the most promising future we've had, the promising approach into the new season that we've had, in my opinion, in years. So yeah, let's look forward to that. Let's get excited. For it. As for next streams, now, obviously, as I said before, previous stream, if you had seen that, even if you haven't, I'll say it now. I don't have schedules or structures as to when I'm streaming, what the topics are. I think this is more just like an open forum type thing, where what's hot off the press or what's on topic, what's being discussed, we discuss ourselves as well, and basically encouraging people who do watch live to get into the chat and to leave your comments, and we'll get the interaction going, and we can have some nice back and forth. We can have maybe some Q&As type, not actual Q&As, but the style of a Q&A stream, that your comments are the focus of the stream rather than what's on the news, right? So as for streams tomorrow, I definitely know that Wednesday is not going to be a possibility, doing a sort of end of day stream like I'm doing now, because I'm going to be out that day. I think Thursday night will probably be the next streams to expect. Tomorrow I will try and do a stream for, maybe I'll do 2, depends on how I'm feeling in the morning, or depends if there's something desperate for us to talk about in the morning, but at some point tomorrow. I know I'm going to be busy tomorrow doing some other things, but yeah, so some point tomorrow, I don't know when. Again, I don't have a schedule, don't have times preset at all, so I'm literally just winging it as I go along. No stream on Wednesday, definitely Thursday, quite possibly, and whatever happens on Friday happens on Friday, because that's then my next day off. So yeah, I'm going to love you and leave you, and if you joined us live, watched live, or if you watch it on the playback, I appreciate any and all support. If you do drop a like, leave a subscription, that would be massively appreciated. It would be a massive help to getting this channel on the map and getting more people in here, because I do look forward to having interactions with my chat and being able to broaden the interaction for this channel, because I'd like to be able to have people to talk to, because it's a bit awkward talking to myself. It's a bit awkward for people outside listening in as well, and just hearing me just talk about random things to myself, making me sound rather insane, but hopefully that stuff comes along in the future, and it all sort of falls into place. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this up. It's literally almost on the same length of stream as what it was yesterday. Jesus, it's dragged on again. I've made it drag on. I apologise for that. But yeah, I'm going to love you and leave you, and hopefully I'll see you again tomorrow. Big ups to if you've tuned in. Leave a like, leave a subscription, and if you've got any feedback or criticisms, if you've got criticisms, then do leave a comment in below, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace out for now.